and strange things started happening in their town. It will start raining blood, and once it does, a young boy from a family dies. This was very strange, as no one had seen a blooded rain, not to talk of a young boy dying mysteriously. They thought their gods needed to cleanse the land, and so made no meaning of it. The following week, same thing happened, and they lost a young boy. They had to consult the oracle, as it was very strange, and the chief priest said that they Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a woman named Effie. She was a very beautiful woman who lived with her husband and son. Effie carried herself with grace, and wherever she went, people admired her and wanted her to be close to them. Effie's husband, Etim, was a successful hunter, always blessed with abundant skills. Even the king would book him for his meat, which never touched the ground, as it was sold almost immediately. With the profit from his great sales, Etim was able to amass a vast amount of land in a short period of time. Effie was a virtuous woman who ensured her home was well looked after. Their son Ken was the apple of their eyes and was brought up in the right manner. Etim and his brother Eke hardly saw eye to eye. They quarreled over their father's landed properties for a while because they were 3 in number. Eventually, they sought the advice of their elders, who decided to divide the properties, splitting one into 2 for their farmlands. This brought about numerous problems, leading to their children to hate each other and avoid interaction. No matter how much Effie tried to reconcile the brothers, it never seemed to work. One day, while Effie was at her shop working, her brother-in-law passed by and ignored her greetings. Concerned, she tried to ensure everything was okay, but he told her to stay away from him. That night, she informed her husband about it, and he told her to ignore Eke, explaining they had a serious quarrel. Effie expressed her worry that the quarrel was getting out of hand and that they should find a way to resolve the matter before it affected their children, who looked up to them. One day, Effie woke up with a weird feeling, sensing something bad was about to happen. She pleaded with her husband not to go anywhere that day, as she felt unease. However, Etim reassured her that nothing would happen and that he had orders to deliver, which he couldn't afford to disappoint. He said goodbyes to his wife and only child, not knowing it would be the last time. Later that evening, people came to their home with cries and shouts, bringing parts of Etim's body, which had been attacked by a wild animal. Effie's heart was broken, recalling how she had pleaded with her husband not to go. Etim had to be buried immediately due to the painful nature of his death. People gathered and sent forth to help Effie and her son, but Eke wanted the money for himself. Although Effie wanted to leave it all to him, Ken refused to let it happen and reported Eke to the king. The king immediately cautioned Eke and asked him to return all the money to Effie, warning of serious punishment if he didn't comply. Effie warned her son never to do such a thing again, fearing they didn't know what his uncle was capable of doing. Ken was a boy who inherited his father's strength and boldness. He defended his mother against his uncle, who was after his father's properties. Despite his mother's warnings, he continued. One day, Ken was walking behind a woman when her money dropped on the floor. He picked it up and went to return it to her, but she started shouting, "Thief! Thief!" and people gathered, beating Ken without verifying the situation. By the time the woman realized her money was on the floor, it was too late. They had tied Ken up, thrown him into a pit, and buried him. A young lady rushed to Effie and informed her of what was happening. She rushed out, but by the time she arrived, it was too late, and she found her son's lifeless body. Effie cried out in anguish, asking what right they had to do this. Among the crowd was Ken's cousin, and she asked him why he didn't defend his brother. Inconsolable, Effie reported the matter to the king, who was furious that the youth had taken matters into their own hands without bringing Ken to the palace. The boys involved were locked up for a month, but Effie wanted them to face the same fate as her son. The king and his cabinet refused, and Effie was never seen or heard from again. When they went searching for her at home, they found her lifeless body on her son's grave. This news saddened the king, and they wondered what they would do about her matter, as it surrounded a very sad tale, but they decided to bury her properly. Few months passed, and strange things started happening in their town. It will start raining blood, and once it does, a young boy from a family dies. This was very strange, as no one had seen a blooded rain, not to talk of a young boy dying mysteriously. They thought their gods needed to cleanse the land, and so made no meaning of it. The following week, same thing happened, and they lost a young boy. They had to consult the oracle, as it was very strange, and the chief priest said that they have wronged a young boy, and his soul seeks vengeance. They pressed further, and the response they got was they know who he was talking about, and they should all leave his shrine, and if nothing was done, soon all the young boys in the village will die. They took the matter back to the king, and the king listened intently. They pondered on who the chief priest was referring to. The king asked that they went to a neighboring village as soon as they can. The next day, it rained blood again, and the young boy died. People who had sons stopped them from going out, and they were very scared, most especially those with only one son. The king knew that the matter has escalated and asked the cabinet members to leave at once to seek solution, which they left to go do. They journeyed for 3 days, and when they arrived at the chief priest's hut, he asked them to sit, and he reminded them about Effie, the woman who lost her son in the worst way possible, asking if they remembered her. They affirmed, saying yes. They said, "Did you make a research about how she died, or did you put her death as a mere mother who could not bear to see her son die, and so went with him?" "Well, I will tell you. On the day you all gave your verdict, and she pleaded with you all that the punishment was small for what she got, she walked around the village, seeing mothers who held their child as she passed. Some called her a witch who have destroyed her family, saying all was a pretense to make it look like she was a good woman. She went to her son's grave, heartbroken, and with a knife made a declaration that each family with sons in that community will feel what she felt, that she was using her blood and that of her sons that was shed unruly, that they will feel what she has felt, that each will lose a son. This she made with her own life." The cabinet chief screamed and wondered what could be done to avert this disaster. The chief priest said that only one who shared the same blood with her family could reverse the curse, and it must be a young boy. He asked them to hurry, as the days that came, the dying will intensify and won't stop until all the young boys of the community are dead. The chief priest thanked the seer and went on their way home. By the time they arrived, 3 young boys from the community were already dead, and one of the cabinet members lost his son. The king was briefed about the whole situation, and they got thinking. When they suggested they sacrifice one of Eke's 2 sons, since they are blood related, and that they will cleanse the land, the king sent for him immediately. When he was informed and asked to pick one, he refused, and the king gave him until the end of the next day to decide, else one of his boys would be chosen. The next morning it rained blood, and this time it visited Eke's home, and he lost one of his sons. When the king's guard got there, they saw him crying over one of his sons, and besides him was a packed bag that they wanted to run away with before the disaster struck. The king sent for the chief priest, who confirmed that the gods had not accepted the sacrifice and that Eke's last son must be sacrificed, or the next victim would be the king's son. The king, not wanting his son to die, ordered Eke's last son to be sacrificed. The ritual was performed and the dark cloud lifted from the village. The chief priest informed the king that the curse was broken and they returned home. Eke's family never recovered from the pain, and he wanted nothing more to do with his brother's lands, believing they were cursed. Families in the village learned the hard way never to jump to conclusion. The woman who accused Ken of theft was the first to lose her son, and some of the boys who had beaten Ken also died. The villagers taught their children better, and such incidents never occurred again. They lived peaceful and loving lives. The end. Kindly state the lesson you learned from this story in the comments. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.